Hello, this is Lindsay Betzendahl. I am going to be sharing how to create a background image for a dashboard in Figma. What you'll see on the left-hand side are all the elements similar to, say, Tableau or Illustrator. All of the elements that you end up putting into your artboard will show up on the left-hand side of the screen in a layered effect. So they'll be in order of what is on top of something else, what's below, what's grouped together, etc., which you'll see along the way. On the left-hand side, we have all of our different elements that we'll use to create, to change fill or stroke color, drop shadows, layer blurs, things like that, alignment, etc. And you'll see different things pop up depending on which type of element we're using. And then all the way up at the top left up here, we have our different tools. We have a frame and slice. We have all our different shapes, pen tool, the text tool. This is just a hand to move things around. And this is for comments if you're using this in a team kind of fashion. And then your typical just, move tool. All right, so we're gonna get started building this out and we'll see how we do. All right. So the first thing we need to do is we're gonna create our background rectangle. Go up here, we're gonna grab our rectangle. And what you can do, you'll see is first you can just drag and make whatever shape you want and the size in pixels that it is. Once you get something kind of on the page, you can go up here, change manually that width and height if you have a particular one that you want. So I'm going to make this 13 by 700. You can also turn things off as you're doing your work if you want to see how different effects take place. And you can also subtract them and just remove them. So we're going to add a drop, we're not adding a drop shadow, but in here we have drop shadows, inner shadow, layer blur, and background blur. And in this case, we want a background blur. So we're going to add this background blur in. If you click this little sun, this is the effect settings. So we can click here and say what type of blur we want, how strong we want this blur. And so actually we're going to keep it at 4 for right now. But you'll see nothing happens because we have a solid fill on our shape. So in order to change that, we can go up to our fill section and we can make that a 60% fill. And what you'll see now is we have a little bit of fill and there's a little bit of blur. And if I add in some other shape, let's just make this just for argument's sake. Over here on the left, I just drew this and obviously now it's on top. I just want to put it underneath so I can just hold and drag and it goes underneath. And you'll see this is under here now. And the edges, if I zoom in, are a little blurry. And so if I increase this blur to say 25, you'll see, now you see how that effect takes place where it does blur anything that's in the background. So I just want to show how that works, how that background blur really is working. It's a little tough to see when you're just using a gradient background because you can't see that blur the same. So now we have our background and we can see that we're looking, getting closer to what we're aiming for here. And actually one other thing, I realized this fill, as we know, defaults to this C4, C4, C4. We actually want to make this white. I just click on that square. White, there we go. So now our background blur has a white hint to it. Okay. Next thing we're gonna do is create the small rectangles that are these, rounded rectangles that are kind of the basis for where the charts are going to lay. So again, we go up to our left, we grab a rectangle, and we're gonna make a couple shapes here. Another thing is if you accidentally move something around, you need to get it back. If on a Mac, at least, you press Command Z is undo, and that'll go right back to where you were. And you can actually do a number of infinite like undos, redos. So it's really nice. You can go back pretty far. All right, I'm gonna make this white. Now for this, we're gonna add in a drop shadow. So what you'll see here is if I zoom in, there's no shadow here. And so what I'll do again is add an effect. I click on that rectangle to highlight it, add an effect, and you'll see it's automatically, it'll default to this 0.4xy and a blur of 4 drop shadow, which means essentially it's dropped 4 pixels down and nothing to the left or right. So it's just below. And you can change these by doing negative, and that'll go above. The X will go to the right, and a negative will go to the left. So we're going to make this a little more. I want it to go down and to the right. So I'll change it to 5 and 5. And I'll make this blur 10 just to give it a little more shadow effect. So you can see how that changed while I was doing that. Again, like if I made it 25, you'll see how that happens. So we'll go back to 10. It defaults to this 25% opacity, which is pretty good. I tend to use that unless I'm using a different colored background. You can change the color of your background. You can see how that'll give this kind of glow. That's pretty nice effect too. All right. So now that we have this, let's see. All right. So once we have one, we can create the other two pretty quickly. We don't have to recreate it. We can just click on this. If I click Alt or Option drag and let go, it copies it. And so now it's copied all the elements that I have, including the fill and the drop shadow, which I want to be identical for my others. So all I need to do now is reshape these. So I'm just gonna make this one a little taller. And again, you can just click on the edge and drag. We're gonna make it about there. And again, I can kind of put these exactly where I might want them. Yeah, that's probably pretty good. All right, Option drag, release. We're gonna just make another shape over here. And again, you'll see these little marks, if you saw that show me I am getting a little red X that showed up. I'm exactly lined up, so I don't even have to worry about making sure the alignment's right. It just does it, which is really nice. Okay. All right, so now we have all of our sections. We're starting to get there. You can kind of see how we have all of these. And it looks like we also need to change our fill a little bit because we want still some opacity here as well. So here's another cool thing. So I actually can select all of these by just holding down Shift, as you would in many other applications. And then I can change this fill to 85%, which gives it just a little bit of opacity. And again, really easy to do, all three at once, and we're done. All right. Next thing we want to add in are some of these blue rectangles. And again, these ones are going to be a little different, so I'm just going to create new ones. So I'll create one, and we'll change this color. And like I said, you can pick colors, you can just kind of go like this. That's good. I happen to have that color already down there. Often Figma will pick up colors that you already have in your view. You can also use the eyedropper to say, like, I want to pick this exact color. So that's really nice. One thing I don't like is this eyedropper does not work outside of the application. So I can't pick something that's on my computer screen, which means sometimes I will bring in an image similar to bringing in this image so that I can get the exact color just like that, that I might want. All right, zooming back in. Okay, we're gonna give these a little bit of a rounded corner as well. Yeah, probably pretty good. We're just going to get that in the center and then option drag. And so once I have all three of these, I'll center the center one. And then what we can do is kind of move these. Now I can see here that the way I want them is not quite going to be exact. So I'm going to click all of them, make them a little narrower. And now I can remove them. You'll see that little 26 that shows me that these are equally, equidistant. That looks pretty good, apart. All right, cool. All right, so to add those little pills, again, we're gonna go up to our little rectangle tool. We're gonna make our pill here. And as I said, we can't see our radius tool. And again, you can type it in, but I like to have a little control. So I'll zoom in a bit so I can get this. And when I zoom it all the way in, it gives us that full rounded corner. Change this to the same color. And then we're gonna add a stroke to this. So the example has an outline. So we can just click that plus button to add a stroke. I'm gonna make this white. And you'll see that you can change the size of it. So we can make it really fat. We'll keep it at 1 though in this case. You can also do inside, outside, or center, which just changes where that stroke lies on your size of your shape. I'll keep it at the inner for now. All right, awesome. So now we have this shape. And so this one, we want these all to be the same height. So this is pretty good. And I'll line this up so it's right along the edge here. Now we're gonna add in some text. So we do have to add in text separately in Figma. So we'll just drag our text shape and then we can start typing. And we're gonna change the text. Now there's hundreds of font options in here. And unfortunately it doesn't show you what they look like. You can just click it and then go down on your mouse if you really wanna kind of look through. So I'm gonna use Oxygen. And we're gonna do bold and here. Now we're gonna do light and not, okay. All right, so now we've got our text and let's center that. I have to make this smaller. Other things to know about the text is when you click on this, you'll see there's your options for your alignment, how you want it to line within the text box, up, down, or in the middle. Click on the ellipsis will give us even more options in terms of how you want to just change the case, the position, etc., which is pretty nice. So there's a lot of customization there. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and make the other 3, and we'll do that real quick. Now we have all of our text in here. Just like we have up here, the rest of these are actually data elements. And one more thing we're gonna do up here is add this filter by dashboard with an arrow, and then we're gonna add in some icons. So let's quickly, again, we're just going to copy, we'll drag this. To add in an arrow, one of the things we're going to want to do is go up to our pen tool. So we don't necessarily want the arrows. Those are going to do something straight, although we can do both. So let's just do this. I'll just show you. We can make an arrow, which is just going to be a straight line. And you'll see it here. In Figma, you can make any of these things a vector. If we double click on it, it gives us this little opportunity to kind of add in a point. So again, I'll just redo that again. By double clicking on it, it'll change up here and we'll have now pen and a curvature tool. So on that curvature tool, I can add in just a little bend to my arrow. And I can click done. And so what I'll see here now, I'll move this over here. Let's see, so we have a direct kind of 90-degree one. I'll move this. If you just hover over a corner on any kind of shape, you'll get a rotation tool. And so here I can actually just rotate this exactly as I want. And let's see, we'll just do this a little bit. Now I can change my arrow pretty good, actually. That worked better than I thought. This. There we go. That's pretty good. So you can do that with any kind of shape. Even on this shape, for example, if I double click on this I can add the curvature tool and add in points that then I can change shapes. So there's a lot you can do to customize your shapes that you had. Now, what I was going to show also is you can just use the pen tool immediately. So I can use this to create an arrow as well. So the pen tool will just do exact lines. However, if you press and hold, it gives you the curvature. So I'm holding my mouse and I let go. I'll drag another one down here and I'll double click to stop. And you'll see I've gotten a custom kind of shape that I've made. So those are two ways to kind of make different bends and shapes. The benefit of using the arrow one, however, obviously is you already have those points come on the arrow, that being on the edge of the arrow. But you could customize that if you wanted. Okay, so last thing we need to do are our 3 shapes over here. So the first one, we're gonna get our ellipse tool and shift and hold to make a perfect circle. And so, let's see, that's gonna be a little too big. Okay. Cool thing about a circle, you'll see that aside from, obviously we can drag and change these, is there's this little arc tool, which allows you to do a number of different things here. Once you do the arc, you can also pull in, we can change the angle of it, right? So we can make this pi, I suppose. And then you can also move the inner. So now I end up with like a donut. So there's a lot of weird things that you can do with the ellipse and the arc. Okay, let me get that back too. Okay, so now I have my my circle. So I'm going to make this, the first one we're actually gonna add an image in here. So similar to all the other shapes, we have a fill over here. If I click on this and we have our solid fill, I'm gonna go down to image. And this allows me to put an image in here. You can also just drag, let's see if I can just drag and drop my image. There we go. If I hit crop, there we go, I can move myself. That's good. Something's weird, hang on. Oh yeah, that's what I want to do. There we go. Okay, so now I'm cropped into this circle. Looks like I need to make it a little bigger. I can see. There we go. Okay, now we have it. Now up here we have a white border. So I want to make sure I have a white border on this one. So going back here, we can add in our stroke. Get that white border. Awesome. All right, so now we have that. It's a little larger. Cool. And we're gonna add our other 3 shapes. So these ones, again, we're gonna kind of lock these into the right spot. Fill, stroke. And let's see here. Yeah, that's, this one has a stroke, the other 2 don't. Okay. Copy these 2, we're gonna turn off the stroke. Okay. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna make one that has a house, one that has 2 circles, and one that has some circles and lines. So I'll show you how to combine some stuff. We're gonna grab our ellipse. We'll do this one first. Once I have these where I want, I can click both of these, and then with my outer circle, and up at the top, you'll see a little spot that shows up for combining the shapes. So we're gonna do that. And we're gonna do the subtract. And so that will actually, now we have holes within our shape. We're gonna do the same thing down here. I can group these if I select all of them together. I can right click and group. And this helps me now because now I can actually center this whole element. And again, we're going to select the outer circle and do intersect. Oops. Let's try that again. Subtract. And now we have our other one. I'm going to click both of these icons and we're going to add our drop shadow. So we get that little background. I'm going to do little, let's see, 2, 5. So we get over the side there. Awesome. And the last one we're going to do is our house. So the house, we're going to build actually the house. We're going to make a little, we'll make a square. We'll grab a polygon. Plop that on. Looks good. Another little door. We're going to subtract. And then union. So now we have a house. Make this. Right, and in this example, we are still going to click both of them and subtract. Oh, you know, I gotta fix this. You can always fix your unions in here. Yeah, see, I wanted to make that. There we go, that looks better. You can click on any of the elements within a subtract. They're still there, so you can still modify them. You don't have to go back. All right, and then I just need to add my drop shadow to this one as well. And there we have our final dashboard. And all the other parts that would have been added will be in the actual data. So now what we do to finalize this is we can just group this whole thing. And now we have one group that we can move around. And on our bottom left, we can export this. And in Figma, you can export it as a PNG, JPEG, an SVG, or PDF. If it's a PNG or a JPEG, you can up the export, size. I usually do just 1 or 2, depending on how large my dashboard's going to be. Any larger and the actual file gets pretty big. Or an SVG is actually the best option. However, unfortunately, an SVG will not pull in images. So for example, this particular shape would not show up correctly. But if I didn't have that, everything else actually could be an SVG. And that would work very well. Tableau, for example, can render those very nicely. And there you have it. That is the end of the tutorial of how to create this dashboard background in Figma.